Hey dudes and dudettes, I'm Derek with GameSomniac, and welcome to another episode of the Gamers Initiative, a video game podcast for the gaming elite. There's a lot that's been going on in the world of Resident Evil, so I wanted to just touch base on what kind of nightmare-fueled horrors we can expect from Resident Evil 7. Now, Resident Evil 7 has become quite the little mystery because before its announcement, there were rumors. There was little talks of Resident Evil 7 being announced, that a title was in production, and that there was rumors like, I know one thing I had read was that Alice from the movie, that character was going to be included in the next title. That way, the movies can coexist with the games, and the games can coexist with the movies, and all that stuff. But then 2016's E3 came around, and Resident Evil 7 was announced. But the Resident Evil 7 we got wasn't anything close to what you could have expected Resident Evil 7 to be. Resident Evil 7 actually took a quick right turn. As players watched the announcement trailer, they realized that the game was going to be a first-person survival horror game. It was returning to its survival horror roots, but the roots weren't necessarily that of the original trilogy. This new Resident Evil 7 was taking a cue from like Silent Hill. It was very hellacious, very ominous, obscure. In the demo that they released, Resident Evil 7, the beginning hour, players played a unknown protagonist who wakes up in an unfamiliar home. This home, which happens to be this kind of like bayou ghost house, and it was heavily compared to Silent Hills. The PT playable teaser that they released on the PlayStation Network, it seemed to carry the same aesthetics as that, and that being a highly anticipated title that fans were really getting behind, and then it canceled due to a fallout between the game's director and Konami, and with the fan base of each respected survival horror game franchise always putting both games in a competitive light. It just wasn't shocking to see that everybody pointed the finger at Resident Evil 7, saying that they were stealing the concept of a now defunct game. But that was brought to question in a recent interview with the Resident Evil 7 director, and God help me, because I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. I feel really bad, but Masachika Kawata. That's what I'm going with. I hope I got that right. He actually said during an interview that his team was actually creating Resident Evil 7 before PT was ever announced. And that when they announced the game, the whole team was just kind of like, oh, they're doing a first person too? Now, with everything that's been released for Resident Evil 7 as of late, we can kind of see the direction that Resident Evil 7's going in is a lot different from what PT was going for. So I don't think there's really any quarrel about Resident Evil taking concepts or stealing from PT. I don't think that's an issue anymore. But that does lead me to the new content that's been released to Resident Evil 7 that I wanted to talk about. So a little while ago, we received a new trailer for the game. It was from Gamescom. It was called the Lantern trailer. And it featured a brand new, unknown female protagonist, as well as a new unknown female antagonist. It still seems like they're going with this ghost concept. It still seems like their enemies are of a supernatural origin. And it's funny because, Resident Evil 4 was originally going to be a supernatural survival horror game. The earliest demos of Resident Evil had the ghost fisherman, and he was going to come after you with the fishing hook, and he would throw it, and it had a chain on it. And then even before that, they were working on an even more in-depth supernatural version of Resident Evil 4, which actually was just so far from Resident Evil that they turned it into Devil May Cry. So just keep that in mind. Capcom's always had this fascination with ghosts and the supernatural, so they're always trying to... I feel like they're always trying to put it in their games, whether it's Resident Evil or it's some other title. They did the same thing with Clock Tower. When Capcom gained the rights to Clock Tower and they made Clock Tower 3, they put a lot of supernatural elements into the game. And Clock Tower was already occult supernatural kind of game. The original Clock Tower was inspired by the works of Dario Argento. So the game was already of supernatural origins, but then Capcom heightened everything. They added ghosts to Clock Tower 3, and then the whole premise is you're going back in time to fight these monsters and free the spirits of these monsters' victims. And so Capcom's always had this direction that they've wanted to go in that kind of involved ghosts and the supernatural. So it's not really surprising to me to see that Resident Evil 7, or at least the demo anyway, featured a supernatural element like ghosts. But what I want to do now, I want to kind of do like a trailer breakdown, or kind of like an analysis of the new Gamescom trailer, the Lantern, from Resident Evil 7. So for those who haven't seen it, I'm going to play the trailer now, and I'm just kind of walk through my thoughts of the trailer and kind of what I... Not really like what I expect from the game based on the trailer, but what the trailer kind of gives off in expectation to me. So here we go.
Ethan, if you find this, I know I can't expect anything from you. I don't know what happened. There's so much that you need to know. I can't let her catch me again. I need to hide.
Alright, so that was the latest Resident Evil 7 trailer that was released at Gamescom. As you guys can see, it follows a unnamed female protagonist who's being chased by a also unnamed female antagonist. There's some interesting things about this trailer. The trailer itself definitely raises more questions than it answers, but it does give a little more insight into the plot of the game. You'll notice in the beginning the woman, as she's making her way through these doors and through this rundown scenery, she mentions the name Ethan. So the synopsis for Resident Evil 7 names Ethan as the main protagonist of the game, and Ethan is looking for his wife, who's gone missing, and in his search for his wife, he's led to this derelict plantation mansion, where all kind of horrors ensue. Now, the ESRB did release a rating for the game. One of the things it gave away was the weapons that we'll have access to in the game. It was said by the development team at one point that there was going to be a lot more herbs in the game than there was weapons, which kind of led us to believe that there wasn't going to be that big of a combat system, if any at all. But now we've learned that there is a combat system, and Ethan will have access to such weapons as pistols, shotguns, it says flamethrowers, explosives, and chainsaws. But so far, the only thing we've really seen as far as weaponry in Resident Evil 7 is the hatchet from Beginning Hour and a shotgun. In one of the other trailers, you've seen the shotgun on the table with the ammo right next to it. The game will also take place in a modern-day setting. It's supposed to be after the events of Resident Evil 6. There's also some continuity between the Beginning Hour demo, and there was also a pre-release demo that was presented at E3 2015 by Capcom, but it was under the name Kitchen. And it's kind of funny because the T in Kitchen was kind of misshapen to be a 7, but nobody really picked up on it, that it had any kind of relation to the Resident Evil series. I actually haven't seen that demo, so I'm just speaking off of what I've read. But the game is supposed to be set after the events of Kitchen and Beginning Hour, which is something cool. It's not something you see a lot from developers, but I think more developers should take a cue from it. It seems to be a good starting point, a good way for you to build your audience and introduce them to this world that you've created. Now, with the new Resident Evil 7 trailer, we also have some video footage that seems to be leaked to me. It doesn't seem like an official Capcom release. The video is in Japanese, and there aren't any English subtitles that I've seen, but it's not the audio that you're going to be focusing on. It's definitely going to be the visual, because the video shows us the creative process behind Resident Evil 7. It shows the developers taking pictures at live locations. It shows actors in makeup. And what I think they're doing is I think they're actually taking pictures of these locations, these settings that they've created, and I think they're scanning them. And I think they're putting it into almost like a 3D printer, but it creates a 3D render of the image it scans, and then they're able to edit that 3D render using computer software. And that's pretty fucking cool in itself, but there's more. See, there's pictures accompanied with this video, and it shows a whole bunch of shit. It shows the father that attacks the protagonist at the end of Beginning Hour. It shows the actor in makeup. It shows the 3D rendering of this character. It shows him all screwed up after he's been killed and then zombified, and then it shows him almost in like a normal state, but then it also shows zombies. There's a couple of pictures, one that shows a head that's kind of been mutilated and partly decapitated, and then there's a picture of an unknown person that's been zombified. And it's kind of funny because the zombie almost looks like Ash when when the evil gets inside of him and he turns into a Deadite. It kind of looks like Deadite Ash. I thought that was pretty funny. But it does confirm that zombies will be in Resident Evil 7. And I do believe that there are a couple of interviews where the developers did say they were going back to zombies. They don't tell you if the zombies are already there or how people are becoming zombies, but I think they did confirm that zombies would be in Resident Evil 7. So leave a comment below telling me what you think of Resident Evil 7 thus far. Do you think it's going to be a major disappointment? Is it living up to the hype? Is it meeting your expectations thus far? What do you want from Resident Evil 7? What do you not want from Resident Evil 7? Just let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more future podcasts. We've also just launched an official Facebook page for the Gamers Initiative. If you guys want to go like that, there's tons of content there, and anything new that we do with the Gamers Initiative, you'll definitely hear about it first on Facebook. So go like that, stay up to date with what we're doing. And until next time, I'm your host, Derek with GameSomniac, and this has been the Gamers Initiative, a video game podcast for the gaming elite. Take it easy, guys.